All right, I've been avoiding this trend for over 2 decades now, and that is installing wallpaper. This is something that, I've torn out a lot of old wallpaper that was moldy, that just looked horrible, and it was just something that I just told clients I could never do and didn't want to do until I got talked into it. So I want to give you some tips on installing wallpaper. This actually is a really easy installation. And with the new types of wallpapers, with the designs they have, it's actually pretty tremendous. It's really, you can basically get whatever you want with a design. You basically put the dimensions of your size wall that you want to put a mural on, and there's just so many choices. Today we're going to be installing basically a tree scene from Rebel Walls. Really cool. Check out their site because they just have so many options out there. And this basically just comes in a roll like this, and it has a pattern that you install it. So let's get into installing wallpaper and giving a nice accent to this bathroom wall. All right, so the first tip I'm going to give you is that I just have drywall primer on this wall right now, and that's not going to be sufficient. I would recommend getting a primer made for wallpaper. This is going to give a little bit of a kind of like a semi-gloss sheen to it. And the reason that you want to make sure that you have a good painting surface on here is that you don't want the paste to absorb into the drywall or the paint and then kind of get set up on you. You want to be able to move this wallpaper. So if you prime this properly, or if you have a good painted wall, I'd say at least having an eggshell finish on your paint. If it was already a painted wall, you should be good. But if you're doing new drywall, I definitely recommend the primer. And we're going to go ahead and prime this, let that set for a couple hours, and then get into the wallpaper removal. But I want to make sure that I get everything off the wall, that there's no, obviously staples or anything on the wall that's going to bump out at all. So just make sure you go over it with a sanding sponge and just remove anything from the finishing of the wall. Okay, so with a wall like this, there actually is quite a bit of waste just because of these 45-degree angles. Because when I measured this and ordered it, I basically measured what the whole wall is, and they assume that you have, I basically had, they make it 8'4" for the height, even though it's 8 foot. So they give you a little extra room on it. But, obviously there's a lot of square footage being cut out of the entire system. So I think I made it 13 foot. Yeah, so it's 12 foot 11, and they give you 13 foot 3. So plenty of additional space on either side, but we are going to be working from left to right. So really, I think the big important aspect here is just to make sure that your wall is plumb. So we could even fold this and cut this right in that corner if we had a problem. But I'm gonna go ahead and put my laser on here. So this is 19 3/4. So just to be able to see it on the sheet, I'm gonna make this 19 5/8. And let's just see what this looks like. So let's see. So 19 1/2, 19 5/8, 19 5/8. So at the bottom kind of kicks in, down here at the bottom we're like 19 3/8. So, but as long as I have this as reference, we'll just allow that to fold in and we'll cut it to fit. Because a lot of times, especially right around here, it's going to be bellowing out because of the drywall mud that we did. So the same thing is on the bottom. The drywall mud just kind of feathered it out. Yeah, so there's a cut mark there. So let's just go ahead and cut this. I think on a regular standard room, this would be a lot easier, because what I could do is just leave it on the roll, pull that up, and then just cut it afterwards. But in this scenario, I'm basically going to be starting from the bottom and then cutting the top off. So like in a normal scenario, I could put this up in the corner, kind of allow that to overhang a little bit, just so that you can make sure that when you cut all of it, it's going to be basically straight to that corner. But in this instance, I'm kind of going to go off of what the bottom is and then basically cut the top. So when I get over to here, you know, most likely my pieces, you know, I'm going to be cutting a bit of that off at the top. And we're going to be putting base trim in afterwards. So I would say that maybe my number 2 tip would be to basically install your base trim afterwards. Rather than having to have a finished cut at the top and having a finished cut at the bottom, it's going to be a lot easier just to overlap that trim, even around this window. Now, I know a lot of you might have everything done and this is like something that you're adding later on. It is going to be more challenging to make sure that all of your cuts are even all the way around. But if you leave the trim off, really makes it simple. You might even consider taking your base trim off to be able to just have, you know, just be able to cut the top and be done. So it really depends on your own specific situation. But in my mind, it makes a lot easier to be able to, you know, put the trim in afterwards. So we're going to cut a bunch of this off so I'm not fighting this. Okay, so just mix this up a little bit. So tip number 3, have a laser that indicates to the edge of your first piece. It's going to be critical in that first piece because everything's going to line off of it. So it's just like setting tile. If you're on plumb or on level, it's just going to make everything so much more difficult. But once you set that first piece nice and level, you're basically going to be eyeing everything else up with that sheet. So really you just need the laser for that first point. And then tip number 4 is just make sure you put plenty of paste on the wall. So use a roller and don't be stingy with it, because this is just going to make it a lot easier to be able to move the wallpaper around if you have enough of the product on the wall. So we'll just go ahead and run this adhesive on the wall. And what's great about having the proper primer on this is that it's not going to be completely, the moisture of this isn't going to be zapped out, and you're going to have a little bit more time to work on this. So let me get a paintbrush because you want to do all the corners too. So we're just going to paint up against the ceiling too, because again, it's really just like drywall mud. I mean, you got to get it completely covered. And don't worry about anything you get on the painted surface. That will wipe off with a damp sponge. But if you don't have enough in the corner, then you're going to have peeling. So and we're gonna follow our laser. We're not going to pay attention to the corner. We're going to cut off the excess in the corner. Because that corner is a little bit uneven, so. Yeah, so I have this laser, so it's just a little bit on the wallpaper so I can actually visually see it on the wallpaper. A lot of people are using pencil lines and stuff, and I just don't see how you're going to be able to see that correctly. Yeah, and then you can just take your plastic. This is basically just pushing out the paste.
Do you
Not really. This paper is nice and thick. I mean, it's, yeah, so, okay, so got this X-Acto knife. That'd be my other tip here, is to get a nice sharp tip like that, because then, you know, you can get a nice accurate cut into that corner. Yeah, that X-Acto knife does a really good job.
Did that come with wallpaper?
With that little kit I got from Amazon. Okay, so this corner is a little bit off because of that uneven drywall surface. So I could just tuck this into the corner and X-Acto knife that nice and tight. And this wallpaper is really nice and thick, so I mean, water's not gonna hurt it. You'll be able to wipe this off, no problem. Any paste you get in the ceiling here too, you wanna wipe off. So just feel, make sure there's no bubbles. There's wall one, everything's nice and level, or plumb. Perfect. Now you just repeat the process. Sheet two, again, just make sure that you're getting plenty of this on the wall, and you want to try to avoid it from being on the paper, so kind of stay a little bit shy of it. And I should mention that you don't want to have any of the paste on the paper, so this does not overlap, at least this specific type of pattern here. It's just butting right up to it, so try to avoid getting it on the actual paper. Not that it matters, you can get it off with just a sponge and water. But that was one question that I had. Do you overlap it, and should I have adhesive on the paper? And the answer is no. On this specific type, you're just butting it up to the existing paper. So you just want to make sure, I mean, you're gonna have, and the thing is when you're feathering this out, you're probably gonna squeeze a little bit of it out. So you're gonna have to wipe down the surface anyway. So you don't have to, like, I mean, you wanna get it as close as possible, but don't worry, because once you go to squeeze some of this adhesive out, you're definitely gonna have the corners covered very well. And by the way, I'm using a 1/2 by 1/2 or a 1/2 inch nap roller. I know a lot of people are using a 3/8, but I've been using 1/2 for painting and doing this because I think it's coating a better layer of it. And this paper is really thick, so it's like it can handle it. Stabbed myself right in between my fingers with that. Dang it. I poked that in there pretty good too.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah. I made that pretty deep. Dang it.
I'm gonna bring the hydrogen peroxide.
Okay, so just make sure that you don't have any
That looks
white paper, you know, basically any of the wall primer that you can see. But as you can see here, I have this aligned right at the bottom there. Just in case there's anything on the edge here.
Did you feel any squeezing out?
A little bit, not as much as that corner did, but it's all nice and flat. Yeah, I just want to make sure I don't see any of that wall and everything's meeting nice and butted right to each other. But yeah, now you can't even see that seam, which is great.
I think what makes this so difficult is the stress, because how much did we spend on this? Was it 800?
Yeah, it was almost $800
It
bucks.
was $800 for just one wall. So that's what makes this so stressful.
Yeah, no, this paper is really nice and thick though. I mean, it really seems pretty foolproof for the most part. I mean,
Like high quality?
yeah, high quality, and it's like not gonna fall apart on you. So, I mean, I think it's, because it's like a vinyl sheet, like it's not like that flimsy wallpaper like I've torn before. So this side up. Oh wait, so they have little arrows on it just to make sure. Fold it the other way and roll it up. It might make a lot more sense. Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it.
Are you able to shift it?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why you need to have the right amount of adhesive on here so that you can shift it.
So pretty.
All right, I'm not going to stab myself this time. Overcut this so I can get this closer to the wall. And I might just go ahead and do the top first. So once you get those first couple of sheets up, it really is pretty simple, and you end up, kind of getting a little bit more comfortable with rolling out the wallpaper, aligning it, and really this gives you plenty enough time to be able to move things around. That's why using that primer is so important. It gives you plenty of time to be able to move things and get everything into position. I did stop using that little pen knife. Mainly because after stabbing myself, I wasn't really interested in using it. So I'm just using a regular utility knife, and that seemed to work out really well. So this kit that I got off of Amazon really was actually worthwhile. I really liked using the brush because it was able to get all the extra bubbles a lot easier out of underneath the vinyl paper. But yeah, ultimately, this was a really good experience. I think this is something that's going to be easy to clean, and that's something that's going to last for years to come. So probably definitely something I'm going to be using more in the future, just because the look of this is really unique, and just the fact that you can find hundreds and hundreds of different types of scenes really makes it exciting and make it something very interesting for the bathroom.
About 10 minutes per panel.
Is that what it is?
About that. I mean, like some of them gotten through a little bit faster than others, but
Yeah,
it's like an average. So like an hour and a half.
that's not bad.
Oh, good on handles.
Faster than tile.
Yep.
Doing this whole wall tile would definitely take some time.
That's what we were gonna do originally.
Yeah,
too.
it was. It was. It would be a lot more expensive than that too. That is sweet. That is really cool.
It really is.
Yeah, I don't know why I resisted so long. But now we can put the base trim up, put that window trim up. Wait until you get the tub in front of this. It's gonna be really awesome. Yeah, I love it.